Beneath the quiet layers of soil we cross each day lie the remnants of stories we were never meant to remember. Stones carved before the first cities, maps of lands that shouldn't have been known, artifacts forged by techniques still beyond us. They are not mere curiosities, but messages from time itself, hints that the history we cling to is incomplete. Tonight, as you drift between thought and dream, imagine stepping beyond the edges of accepted history into a world where myth and archaeology intertwine, where the earth itself whispers of civilizations erased from memory. High in the western province of Qinghai, China, the summit of Mount Baigong hides a cavern unlike any other. Its entrance yawns like a scar in the mountain's face, and within, the rock is threaded with pipes, rusted, ancient, and embedded deep into the stone. Some are thick as a man's leg, others thin and branching, like veins in a petrified body. They run through the cavern walls and stretch toward the nearby Lake Tosan, a saline lake that seems an odd destination for any plumbing, ancient or modern. The first question anyone asks when standing there is simple but impossible. Who built them and when? Local legends speak of sky beings and lost civilizations. Scientists, summoned to explain the impossible, discovered that the pipes contained iron mixed with silicon and calcium oxide, signatures of extreme age. Samples revealed oxidation that would take countless millennia to develop. And some of the smaller pipes were no longer metal at all, but fossilized stone, as though the mountain itself had absorbed and preserved them. The region has no record of ancient metallurgy. Humanity's earliest metalworking dates back barely 8,000 years. Yet these artifacts appear far older. More questions followed. Why would any civilization, real or imagined, construct such conduits leading into a salt lake unfit for irrigation or drinking? Some theorized that Mount Baigong was once home to an ancient power plant, its pipes designed for energy or mineral transfer. Others took the thought further, claiming they were the remains of extraterrestrial engineering, perhaps a fueling station for visitors from the stars. The more cautious proposed natural origins, comparing them to pseudo-fossils, mineral deposits that mimic human craftsmanship. But the evidence resisted simplicity. The pipes showed deliberate angles, smooth intersections, and alignments too precise to be geological chance. Many plunged in perfect straight lines deep into the mountain's interior. For a moment, the Chinese press dared to suggest that the site might represent traces of a prehistoric civilization. Then, as quickly as the news appeared, it faded. Access was limited, reports ceased, and the mountain returned to silence. Divers exploring Lake Tosan later claimed to find submerged structures and more tubular formations beneath the surface, but their findings were never formally studied. The mystery endures, sealed beneath layers of bureaucracy and stone. Were these pipes channels for water, for energy, or something we have no name for? If they are remnants of an ancient people, they rewrite the timeline of human progress. If they are natural, they still defy our geological understanding. Either way, they stand as iron veins in the Earth's memory, rusted witnesses to a story we have forgotten how to tell. Thousands of miles away, in the misted expanse of Russia's Ural Mountains, another relic of the impossible slumbers beneath the soil. In 1890, miners digging through the peat bog of Shigir unearthed a wooden figure, dark, hardened, and eerily preserved. It was carved with intricate patterns, its surface etched with zigzags, and human faces stacked in totemic sequence. It would take over a century before carbon dating revealed the truth. The Shigir idol was more than 12,000 years old, older than the pyramids, older than any known civilization, carved from a single larch tree. The idol stood nearly 3 meters tall in its reconstructed form. The wood bore the marks of stone tools, each incision deliberate and controlled. Its creators were hunter-gatherers, people we once believed too primitive for abstract art or monumental sculpture. Yet the Shigir idol is not the product of survival. It is the work of a culture with symbolic depth, spiritual vision, and time enough to carve meaning into eternity. Scholars have argued for decades about what the carvings mean. Some see gods and ancestors, others cosmic maps or moral codes rendered in pattern rather than word. Each symbol may have been a mnemonic guiding oral histories now long forgotten. Perhaps it represented a warning, a set of taboos, or the order of creation itself. No other object like it has been found. It stands alone, a relic of a vanished belief system, its language erased but its presence undeniable. The peat that preserved it also isolated it, sealing away an entire worldview that might otherwise have decayed into dust. Standing before it today, in the stillness of a museum, one can almost feel its age pressing outward, the gravity of a message too old to read. The Shigir idol is not just a sculpture but a survivor, a window into a time when humans first began to dream beyond survival, carving their cosmology into wood rather than stone. Its silent gaze seems to ask, not that we understand, but that we remember there were once worlds of thought older than history itself, far to the west. Across the storm-swept highlands of Scotland, another enigma waits beneath fog and wind. Scattered across the hills are ancient ruins known as vitrified forts, stone fortresses whose walls have been melted into glass. The rocks themselves fused under temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees, far hotter than any primitive fire could have produced. The melted stones twist and shimmer as though the hills were once gripped by a firestorm from another age. No written record explains who built these forts or why. The phenomenon of vitrification remains a scientific riddle. Some believe invading armies set the walls ablaze, but the uniformity of the melting suggests intention, not destruction. Others argue it was ceremonial, a way to seal a fortress forever, burning it into permanence. Still others suggest the impossible, that the builders possessed knowledge of chemistry or metallurgy advanced enough to generate blast furnace heat thousands of years before the industrial age. Then come the whispers of ancient wars fought, with forces beyond comprehension, of weapons described in myths as divine lightning or fire from the sky. Perhaps the vitrified walls are not remnants of ritual or engineering at all, but scars left by forgotten technologies, unleashed and lost. Whatever their origin, these ruins stand as reminders that history is not a straight line. It is a landscape of forgotten peaks and buried valleys, where the past is deeper and stranger than we dare imagine. From the rusted pipes of Qinghai to the wooden gods of the Urals, from the glassed stones of Scotland to the artifacts that await discovery beneath our feet, the earth keeps its secrets well. It remembers everything, even when we choose to forget. No explanation fits neatly. Even now, archaeologists cannot agree on whether vitrification was a deliberate technique, a catastrophic accident, or the remnant of a ritual whose meaning has been lost to time. And so the forts remain, silent, brooding sentinels on mist-shrouded hills, their glassy stones glinting faintly beneath the northern light. They belong to a Scotland older than history, older than clans or kings, older than the written word itself. To walk their perimeter is to feel the hum of an extinct knowledge, the ghost of a method that once shaped stone with fire as a potter shapes clay. The builders are nameless. Their tools are gone, but the glass endures, a frozen testament to a mastery the world no longer understands. As your hand glides across the smooth, vitrified surface, a thought stirs unbidden. What else did they know that we have let slip into darkness? Across the ages and across every continent, a single story keeps resurfacing. It is whispered in temples, etched on tablets, woven into chants, and still murmured in folk tales today. It is the story of a flood, not a river spilling its banks, but a world-ending deluge. Waters rising higher and faster than any human could outrun. Civilizations erased, coastlines redrawn, survivors clutching fragments of memory as their world drowned. We know the tale of Noah's Ark, but that is only one version among hundreds. The Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh tells of Utnapishtim, warned by the god Ea of a flood meant to cleanse the earth. He builds a great boat, loads it with life, and survives the storm, sending out birds to find land. In India, the ancient Vedic texts speak of Manu, who is saved by a divine fish, an avatar of Vishnu, guiding his vessel through the chaos. In Greece, Zeus floods the world to punish humankind, sparing only Deucalion and Pyrrha. The Hopi people of North America tell of ancestors who escaped a world-devouring flood by hiding in hollow reeds. The Maya, the Inca, the Polynesians, the Aboriginal Australians all speak of the same elemental calamity. The names differ, but the bones of the story remain the same. Judgment, deluge, survival, renewal for centuries. Scholars dismiss these myths as coincidence or allegory, a symbolic retelling of seasonal floods or moral rebirth. Yet their consistency gnawed at the edges of explanation. Could so many isolated cultures have remembered the same event? In the late 20th century, geologists William Ryan and Walter Pittman proposed the Black Sea deluge theory, that around 7,600 years ago, the rising Mediterranean burst through the Bosporus, flooding the once freshwater basin of the Black Sea. A wall of water roared inland, drowning villages and reshaping continents. If true, it could have seared itself into human memory as the archetype of divine punishment. But other evidence points further back, to the end of the last ice age, 12,000 years ago, when glaciers melted, seas surged, and coastlines vanished beneath hundreds of feet of water. Entire landscapes, perhaps entire civilizations, may have disappeared. Off the coasts of Japan, India, and Indonesia lie submerged ruins that hint at cities older than recorded history. Could these have been the lost lands that gave birth to tales of Atlantis, Lemuria, and other sunken realms? Some scientists argue that the Younger Dryas period, a sudden climatic shift possibly triggered by a comet impact, unleashed global fires followed by torrents of meltwater. Humanity may have survived such trauma, but not without scars. The flood myths, then, could be cultural fossils, memories of apocalypse encoded in story and ritual. Others take it further still. They suggest that the flood narrative points to a forgotten network of ancient civilizations, mariners and builders whose knowledge once spanned the globe. How else, they ask, could the same motifs of boats, divine warnings, and preserved knowledge emerge everywhere from the Andes to Mesopotamia? Perhaps the myths are not metaphors at all, but encrypted history, the last messages of a world that perished beneath the sea, whatever the truth. The story endures because it speaks to something primal within us, the awareness that nature's power is absolute and cyclical. The sea always returns to reclaim what it lent. The flood is not only a memory of disaster, but a warning written into our collective soul. Nothing we build is permanent, not even civilization itself. And so, when we stand on the shore and watch the tide breathe in and out, we stand on borrowed ground. The ocean waits patiently, remembering everything we have forgotten. Somewhere beneath layers of stone and disbelief, a print waits to be recognized for what it truly is, or perhaps what it never was. In the forests of southeastern Nigeria, near the winding banks of the Cross River, a hidden legacy sleeps beneath the canopy. There, shrouded by soil and time, stand hundreds of monoliths carved from dark basalt and granite. Their faces are etched with strange symbols no one can read, their surfaces slick with moss and mystery. This is the site of Ekom, where the stones are said to speak in silence. To the people who live among them, these monoliths are more than relics. They are the Awani, the people of stone. Ancestors turned to rock, guardians of a forgotten world. For archaeologists, they are an enigma. First documented in the early 20th century, the stones revealed a level of uniformity and sophistication that defied easy explanation. Each one is cylindrical, polished, and marked with recurring motifs, spirals, interlocking lines, faces with exaggerated eyes, and sequences of symbols that resemble writing. The carvings repeat across 30 known sites, hinting at an organized system of meaning. Were these letters of a lost language, a map, or something far stranger, a cosmic record preserved in stone? When plotted on a modern map, The monoliths align along the Cross River basin, as if tracing the boundaries of an unseen kingdom. Some researchers suspect they mark settlements or celestial positions. Others see them as remnants of a forgotten empire whose name has been erased from memory. Local oral traditions speak in myth rather than history, of sky beings who descended to teach humankind, of wars among the gods, of ancestors who turned themselves into stone to await rebirth. The Cross River peoples, the Ejagam and Dekoi, regard the sites as sacred, but their legends only deepen the mystery. Dating the stones has proved nearly impossible. The tropical soil erases all organic traces, leaving no charcoal, no wood, no bones. Archaeologists tentatively suggest an age between 500 and 1,000 years, but the carvings feel far older, their precision suggesting a lineage of knowledge passed down through countless generations. Scholars have compared the symbols to the scripts of the Indus Valley, Easter Island's Rongo-Rongo, and the Neolithic markings of Europe, but none match. The Ecom stones remain alone, a language adrift in time. Some ethnographers believe the carvings are mnemonic devices used in oral ceremonies, visual cues to unlock recitations of lineage, lore, and myth. Others propose an astronomical purpose, noting how spirals and concentric circles mirror the moon's phases or the orbits of planets. Then there are the fringe interpretations, that the stones mark geomagnetic nodes or ancient energy lines running beneath the earth or even portals between worlds. Whatever the truth, the stones endure, weathered, silent, unbroken, challenging every neat version of history. Recent projects have begun to map and scan them in 3 dimensions, hoping pattern recognition might one day reveal a hidden logic. But as of now, they remain an unsolved sentence in humanity's story. Standing among them, with the air thick and the forest alive around you, it's easy to feel that the stones are not simply artifacts, but messages, reminders that entire civilizations can rise, flourish and vanish, leaving behind only whispers carved into stone. Far to the south, in the red earth of Gabon, another mystery slumbers, one not of stone but of fire. In 1972, scientists analyzing uranium ore imported from a mine in Oklo made a shocking discovery. The ore was depleted of uranium-235, the isotope used in nuclear reactors. The implication was staggering. The uranium had already been burned, as though the Earth itself had once run a reactor 2 billion years ago. Investigations confirmed that the Oklo deposits bore the unmistakable signs of a sustained nuclear chain reaction. Pockets of uranium had split their atoms for hundreds of thousands of years, releasing controlled heat and radiation. The geological formations had even acted as natural moderators, keeping the reaction stable, something that should have been impossible without intelligent design. The probability of such perfect conditions arising by chance was infinitesimal, and yet here it was, buried deep in the rock. To most scientists, Oklo represents one of nature's strangest coincidences, a natural nuclear reactor formed by a rare confluence of chemistry, water, and time. But others wonder if it was something more. The isotopic ratios in the rock suggest levels of precision that seem deliberate, almost managed. The reactor never melted down. The surrounding strata remain intact. Could this really have happened without guidance? Some theorists whisper of an intelligence predating humanity, an ancient civilization that mastered atomic energy long before recorded history, or perhaps visitors who left behind traces of their technology. Mainstream science dismisses this as fantasy, yet certain clues, metallic spheres found in nearby mines, precisely shaped and billions of years old, keep the questions alive. Whether natural or not, Oklo proves one haunting point: the Earth remembers. The atoms still hum with the memory of power once unleashed. Perhaps it was an accident. Perhaps it was a warning. And in the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, in Pakistan's Sindh province, another enigma unfolds. Among the ancient bricks and streets of this 4,000-year-old city, archaeologists found skeletons lying where they fell, as if death came in an instant. Some of the remains showed unusually high radiation, and patches of vitrified stone hinted at temperatures so intense they melted the earth itself. To some, it looked as though an ancient atomic blast had leveled the city. The legends of India seem to echo this possibility. In the Sanskrit epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, divine weapons are described that could burn the sky, unleash fire brighter than 1,000 suns, and scour the land with winds of death. Were these poetic metaphors or memories of a forgotten technology? If the Oklo reactors were nature's experiment in nuclear power, could Mohenjo-Daro have been humanity's? The truth remains elusive. Radiation readings from the site vary, and no definitive evidence of a nuclear event has been confirmed. Yet the myth persists because it resonates with something deep in our collective imagination, the suspicion that we have been here before. That the rise and fall of civilizations may not be a straight line, but a cycle. That somewhere long ago the world burned, and we have spent millennia trying to forget why. Beneath the jungles of Nigeria, the deserts of Gabon, and the dust of Sind, the earth keeps its secrets. Each enigma, a script, a reactor, a ruin, whispers the same warning. History is not what we think it is. The past is vast, layered, and alive, and somewhere within it, buried deep beneath our certainty, the truth still waits to be unearthed. Even the ancient epics' descriptions of what followed sound disturbingly like radiation sickness, hair and nails falling away, poisoned water, unborn children twisted by unseen forces. Yet these words were written thousands of years before the concept of radiation even existed. How could they describe its effects with such uncanny precision? In Mohenjo-Daro, the unearthed skeletons deepened the puzzle. They weren't scattered or buried in haste as victims of war or plague might be. Many were found lying in the streets as though frozen mid-step, struck down in an instant. Some faced the ground, others clung to one another. There were no mass graves, no signs of siege or looting, no evidence of the slow decay of famine. The city around them, with its planned streets, advanced drainage, and uniform architecture, bore no marks of conquest. Only silence, as if life had been erased rather than ended. Modern archaeology tries to ground the mystery in rational soil. New studies suggest the radiation once reported may have been mismeasured, and that the vitrified stones could have resulted from natural lightning or extreme fires. Yet even those explanations struggle to account for the scale and precision of the heat required, or for the eerie pattern of sudden death. The cause remains elusive, and so the legend persists. Some propose an asteroid impact, an airburst like the Tunguska event that might explain both the devastation and the heat. But the geological record offers no clear crater, no layer of impact debris. Others point to environmental collapse or plague, but that fails to explain the melted stone and the strange preservation of bodies. For a few, the answers lie further beyond, perhaps in forgotten technologies, or even in stories of ancient visitors whose divine weapons might have left behind the same scars we associate with nuclear power. To dismiss such theories entirely is easy. To explain the city's fate completely is not. Even if the tales of fiery weapons are myth, their echoes are unsettlingly familiar. The texts speak of power unleashed beyond control, of civilizations undone by their own brilliance. Mohenjo-Daro's silence may not be proof of nuclear war, but it is still a warning, a vision of what happens when creation and destruction blur, and so the ruins remain, sun-baked and still. The skeletons are gone, their bones scattered across museums and archives, but their story endures. It whispers through the dust of the Indus Valley, through vitrified forts in distant lands, through every strange trace of fire and glass left in ancient stone. It asks a single, unquiet question: how much have we forgotten? Perhaps Mohenjo-Daro does not only look back toward the dawn of civilization. Perhaps it looks forward, a mirror of what can happen when knowledge races ahead of wisdom. Its bricks, its bones, and its silence stand as both record and prophecy, reminding us that the line between myth and memory is far thinner than we care to admit. In the arid cliffs near the Dead Sea, where the desert wind sighs through caves of chalk and salt, another mystery waits, not of fire but of metal. Among the scrolls of Qumran discovered in 1952, one stood apart, a message etched not on parchment but on copper. Tarnished green and stubbornly unbreakable, it told not of faith or prophecy, but of treasure. The copper scroll lists 64 hidden hoards, gold, silver and sacred artifacts concealed beneath ruins, buried in cisterns, sealed beneath stone steps or riverbeds. If taken literally, the wealth would be worth billions today. Yet none of it has ever been found. Its language is blunt and practical, reading more like an inventory than a scripture. In the ruin that is in the valley of Achor, under the steps at the east, 40 talents of silver are hidden. But where is the valley of Achor? No one can say for certain. Many scholars believe it records the secret dispersal of Jerusalem's temple treasure before the Roman destruction in 70 CE, a desperate effort by priests to safeguard their sacred wealth. Others think it was written by a dissident sect, perhaps the Essenes, encoding not just valuables, but knowledge meant for a future age. Some even suspect there was once a companion scroll, a key now lost, without which the directions are meaningless. For decades, treasure hunters, archaeologists and dreamers have searched the desert, guided by faith, obsession, or greed. None have found so much as a coin. Perhaps the Romans seized it long ago. Perhaps the scroll was a ruse, a diversion, a story meant to mislead. Or perhaps the treasure lies where it has always lain, waiting in the dust, its landmarks swallowed by time. Modern imaging has brought new clarity to its corroded letters, but not to its meaning. Some researchers detect mathematical or astronomical patterns in the descriptions, as though the list were also a cipher, a map drawn in geometry and myth. Others insist it is exactly what it seems, a record of lost gold, written to outlast its makers, and so the copper scroll sits today, half scripture, half riddle. Whether it conceals a fortune or only the dream of one, its allure endures. It stands as a reminder that mystery itself may be the oldest treasure of all, that some secrets are meant not to enrich, but to keep us searching. Somewhere in the shifting sands, the past still waits, patient and hidden, glinting faintly in the dark. And not far away, in another corner of the earth's deep memory, a hammer sleeps inside stone. Found in Texas in 1936, its wooden handle protruded from solid rock along the banks of the Paluxy River. When freed, it revealed an iron head, unrusted, impossibly pure, and a wooden shaft turned to stone. The rock that held it was dated to the Cretaceous, nearly 100 million years old. If that dating were true, the hammer should not exist. Skeptics argued that mineralization around a recent object could mimic ancient stone, that the artifact was a curiosity of chemistry, not time. Yet the hammer's composition, iron so pure it resists rust, alloyed with chlorine and sulfur, remains hard to explain. It is too advanced for ancient smelting, too improbable for chance. Whether it is the relic of a lost civilization, an anomaly of nature, or simply a misunderstood artifact, the London hammer continues to provoke the same unease as Mohenjo-Daro's skeletons and the copper scroll's treasure. Each one is a crack in the mirror of history, a whisper that our understanding of the past is incomplete. Perhaps they are coincidences, misreadings, or tricks of erosion and time. Or perhaps they are fragments of an older story, one in which fire, metal, and knowledge once flourished and then fell silent. Whatever the truth, these mysteries remind us that the earth itself is an archive far older and deeper than any library, and that sometimes the most unsettling discoveries are not those we find, but those that refuse to fit. One hammer can survive from a time before time. What else might still lie sealed in the stone beneath our feet? Far to the south, under miles of unbroken ice, there is a lake untouched by sunlight for more than 15 million years. It is called Lake Vostok, a black hidden sea buried beneath Antarctica's thickest glacial shield. It should have remained secret forever, a world locked in perfect silence. Yet what scientists found or suspect beneath that ice has unsettled even the most disciplined minds. It began as an anomaly. In the 1970s, Soviet researchers drilling deep ice cores at Vostok Station noticed strange temperature fluctuations far below the surface, inconsistent with any natural layering of snow or ice. When radar mapping in the 1990s finally revealed the truth, the discovery was staggering. A massive freshwater lake the size of Lake Ontario, sealed beneath nearly 4 kilometers of solid ice. For millions of years, it had been cut off from the surface world, untouched by air, light, or life as we know it. Scientists were ecstatic. Could an isolated ecosystem have survived there, evolving along an entirely separate biological path? Could it mirror the hidden oceans thought to exist beneath the icy shells of Europa or Enceladus? But as curiosity grew, so did unease. Because Lake Vostok was not just water, magnetic surveys revealed massive anomalies deep beneath the ice, distortions of Earth's magnetic field that no ordinary geology could explain. One in particular measured over 60 kilometers across, structured and symmetrical, as if shaped by design. Some dismissed it as a concentration of iron-rich rock. Others whispered that it might be something else entirely, a colossal artificial construct buried under the ice, built by hands or intelligences long forgotten. Even NASA became involved, sending specialists to study Vostok as an analogue for alien worlds. But each attempt to pierce the final layers of ice was met with failure. Drills broke, sensors malfunctioned, data vanished, and then came the rumors of samples quietly classified, of scientists silenced, of reports never published. What was being hidden? What did they find? For 15 million years, Lake Vostok has existed in utter darkness, warmed only by geothermal heat. Any life there would have evolved in isolation, untouched by the surface biosphere, potentially preserving ancient DNA or something not of this Earth. But the magnetic anomaly suggests more than biology. It suggests technology, perhaps the remnants of a civilization erased by ice and time, or a machine older than history, still humming in the dark. Some have tied this mystery to the legend of Atlantis. Antarctica, after all, was once temperate and forested, before a sudden shift in the planet's climate buried it beneath glaciers. Could a thriving culture have once existed there, only to vanish beneath the freeze? Satellite imagery has revealed odd formations across the continent. Geometric ridges, triangular peaks, eerily reminiscent of pyramids. Dismissed as geology, yet too precise to fully ignore. In the early 2000s, a Russian team reportedly breached the lake, but most of their findings were withheld. A few microbial species were announced, unique, ancient, alien in structure. But whispers spoke of more, of complex organic remains, metallic fragments, and a discovery that forced an abrupt end to the mission. Some claimed researchers disappeared. Others spoke of sealed reports and military involvement. Perhaps beneath Vostok lies not a ruin, but a mechanism, a dormant engine still active after millions of years, influencing magnetic fields or drawing energy from the planet itself. If such a thing exists, it would overturn everything we know about our past. It would prove that humanity may not have been the first intelligent force on Earth, and maybe that is why silence has returned to Vostok. To reveal such a truth could fracture the world's understanding of itself. Beneath the white desert, the ice keeps its secret. Perhaps it guards an ancient machine. Perhaps it protects life from the stars. Or perhaps it simply hides the oldest echo of ourselves, frozen in time. Until the ice yields, the question remains, what waits below? Thousands of miles away, in the dust of Mesopotamia, another kind of secret lies in stone. Among the ruins of Sumer and Akkad, archaeologists have uncovered tiny masterpieces, cylinder seals carved from jasper, serpentine, and lapis. When rolled across wet clay, they reveal entire stories in miniature. But one seal stands apart, catalogued as VA243 in the Vorderasiatisches Museum of Berlin. It depicts a seated figure surrounded by attendants, and above them, an image that has baffled generations of scholars. Between the figures floats a central star, encircled by 11 orbs, arranged in a pattern almost identical to our solar system. Not 5 visible planets, as the ancients could have seen with the naked eye, but all of them, including Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, unknown to humanity until modern telescopes. How could the Sumerians have known this? Mainstream historians call it coincidence, a stylized design mistaken for astronomy. But others see it as evidence, proof that ancient knowledge was given, not discovered. The Sumerians themselves wrote of beings who descended from the sky, the Anunnaki, who taught them writing, mathematics, and the secrets of the stars. Zechariah, Sitchin's controversial work The 12th Planet, proposed that these beings came from a hidden world, Nibiru, a 12th body on a long elliptical orbit around the sun. He claimed that the seal shows this planet returning every few thousand years. Critics dismissed his theories, but the question lingers. Why carve such detail if it meant nothing? Why depict the solar system at all? The Sumerians measured time and space with eerie precision. They divided the sky into 360 degrees, tracked lunar cycles, and understood planetary motion in ways that defy explanation. Some say this knowledge came from observation alone. Others believe it was inherited from a civilization before the flood, or from visitors who left their mark and vanished. The seals, silent and unassuming, still bear that message in stone. Whether myth or memory, they speak of contact, of knowledge that came from beyond. And like the hammer sealed in ancient rock or the secrets beneath Antarctic ice, they remind us that history may be deeper, stranger, and far older than we dare imagine, and beyond the deserts and ice, hidden in the mountains of China. There may be another monument to that forgotten age. During World War II, an American pilot flying over central China reported seeing a massive pyramid gleaming white in the sun, far larger than Giza's and perfectly geometric. Others later claimed similar sightings near Xi'an, describing smooth-sided structures rising from the earth like buried giants. The reports made brief headlines, then vanished. The region was soon closed to foreigners. Decades later, satellite imagery revealed strange angular mounds scattered across Shanxi province. Ancient tombs, say Chinese officials, though their scale dwarfs any known burial sites. The largest, the so-called White Pyramid, is said to rise nearly 1,000 feet high, its surface covered in vegetation and protected by military restriction. No independent survey has ever been permitted. Whether natural hill, imperial tomb, or something older still, no one outside the region can say. But the legends persist of a shining monument built before recorded time, a link in the chain that connects the Sumerian seals, the Antarctic anomalies, and all the other quiet impossibilities scattered across the earth. Each mystery stands alone, yet together they whisper the same truth. We are walking on the ruins of forgotten worlds. Beneath our feet, beneath the ice, beneath the dust and secrecy, the past waits, not dead but dreaming. Foreigners are forbidden to enter the region, and even Chinese citizens require special permits. Satellite images reveal little more than softened mounds scattered across the plains, dozens, perhaps hundreds of them, ancient burial sites swallowed by time and vegetation. None match the stark, angular monument described by the wartime pilots who first saw the White Pyramid. Yet the story refuses to die. In the 1990s, German researcher Hartwig Hausdorff managed limited access to the region. When he returned, he claimed that the area contained not one, but a vast field of pyramids, some eroded, others still sharply defined beneath layers of earth. His photographs, though far from conclusive, revealed structures that confirmed what locals had always whispered. China's ancient past was far grander than most imagined. Archaeology officially acknowledges dozens of imperial burial mounds near Xi'an, especially from the Han and Tang dynasties, around 2,000 years old. These are earth-made, lacking the stone precision or celestial alignment of Egypt's monuments. But what if one pyramid was different, older? Local legends speak of an age before emperors, when celestial beings built monuments that connected heaven and earth. Some of the mounds in Shanxi are said to mirror the stars, their arrangement echoing constellations much like the pyramids of Giza or Teotihuacan. If that is true, it would suggest a shared or inherited knowledge across continents, or perhaps a forgotten global tradition of aligning human works with the cosmos. Rumors persist of a massive white-capped pyramid made not of earth but of a stone or unknown concrete hidden under soil and guarded by soldiers. Why the secrecy? Some point to geopolitics, the government's determination to protect cultural heritage from exploitation or distortion. Others suspect something deeper, that the White Pyramid conceals traces of a civilization far older than dynasties or recorded history, perhaps dating back tens of thousands of years. If the monument were truly ancient and built using materials or techniques beyond those of known Neolithic cultures, it could transform everything we believe about human development. Similar enigmas exist across the world, from Baalbek's impossible foundations to the precision stonework of Pumapunku and the mathematical perfection of Giza. Are these scattered marvels the isolated triumphs of separate peoples, or are they the last fragments of a forgotten civilization erased by time and cataclysm? Chinese myth itself hints at such a possibility. The Shanhai Jing, the classic of mountains and seas, speaks of palaces built by divine beings and mountains that touched the stars. Perhaps the White Pyramid is one of these, its myth reborn as archaeology, its truth buried under politics and stone. Satellite scans show geometric shapes beneath the soil, but access is forbidden, drones restricted, research controlled. Maybe the most haunting mystery isn't the government's silence, but the Earth's. If the pyramid exists, it waits, entombed not just in dirt but in our collective amnesia. We are left with fragments. A pilot's fleeting glimpse, a handful of blurred photographs, a story that refuses to fade. Perhaps one day the truth will break through the haze, and the White Pyramid will stand revealed in the sunlight once more, a monument that predates history itself, a message carved in white stone by hands we no longer remember. Imagine then, standing at the edge of time, not thousands but tens of millions of years in the past. Forests where cities now stand, seas covering continents, creatures walking paths long erased. What if intelligence had already risen once before? What if civilization is not unique to humanity but cyclical, a pattern of creation and forgetting repeated across eons? This is the essence of the Silurian hypothesis, proposed not by fringe dreamers but by NASA's Gavin Schmidt and astrophysicist Adam Frank in 2018. They asked a startling question. If an industrial civilization had existed millions of years before humans, would we even know? The answer, they found, is unsettling. The geological record is fragile. Most sedimentary layers that could preserve evidence of cities or machines have long been destroyed by erosion or subduction. Less than 1% of life ever fossilizes, and of that, almost none comes from environments like coasts or river deltas, the very places where civilization tends to thrive. Even the traces of our world today, our steel, concrete, and plastic, would mostly vanish in a few million years. But some fingerprints might remain, abrupt spikes in carbon dioxide, unusual isotopic ratios, synthetic compounds, radioactive residues, markers of technology embedded in the rocks. Our own era already leaves such a scar. Plastics in sediments, chemical pollutants, carbon surges, and nuclear isotopes. In future geology, these will form a layer, the Anthropocene horizon. Could similar layers from millions of years ago point to an earlier rise and fall? Schmidt and Frank compared our current industrial impact to ancient events like the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, a sudden global warming 56 million years ago. Officially, that spike in carbon was caused by volcanic activity or methane release. But what if it was something else? A cycle of civilization and collapse replaying across epochs? Metals would corrode, cities would crumble, but subtle traces might endure. Strange alloys, microplastics fossilized into stone, chemical signals mistaken for natural anomalies. There are already oddities in the geological record. Metallic spheres billions of years old, unexplained isotopic spikes, sudden extinctions followed by rapid recoveries. Coincidence, perhaps, or the ghost trail of a civilization erased by time. The thought is humbling. If others rose before us and vanished without a whisper, then civilization itself may be no more enduring than the tide. Our cities could one day be reduced to a thin chemical layer beneath the feet of future beings who will never know we existed. The earth forgets. Even memory carved into stone fades eventually. The Silurian hypothesis is not proof but a challenge, a mirror held up to our arrogance. It reminds us that intelligence may not guarantee survival, and that we, too, may become a brief, bright flare in the planet's long history, leaving behind only a question in the rocks, high in the Peruvian Andes. That question seems carved into the mountains themselves. Just beyond Cusco stands Sacsayhuaman, a fortress of immense, interlocking stones, fitted so precisely that not even a hair can slip between them. Some weigh over 100 tons, each uniquely shaped yet meshed together as if molded like clay. How the builders achieved this remains a mystery. Mainstream archaeology attributes it to the Incas, using stone hammers, ropes, and endless labor. Yet the precision feels unnatural. The surface is almost fluid, the joins seamless and curved, as though the stones had been softened and shaped by hand. Legends speak of a liquid stone, a plant-based mixture said to melt rock, allowing it to be poured and hardened. Explorers like Percy Fawcett searched the jungles for such a substance. Though it was never found, some scientists note that certain acids can erode limestone. But Sacsayhuaman's andesite is far too hard for that. Still, the absence of tool marks and the organic smoothness of the stones keep the speculation alive. Was there a lost technology, chemical, mechanical, or something else entirely, that allowed ancient builders to manipulate matter in ways we can't yet replicate? The Spanish chroniclers who first saw the site wrote that the Incas attributed its construction to a race of giants or to gods who wielded power over stone. Whatever the truth, Sacsayhuaman stands as a monument to forgotten mastery. Its walls ripple like frozen waves, its stones fit together like puzzle pieces beyond human patience. Perhaps the answer lies not in myth, but in humility. These monuments, from China's hidden pyramid to Peru's molten walls, may all be fragments of an older story, one that keeps resurfacing in the bones of the earth. A story of minds that reached for eternity, achieved it for a moment, and were then swept away. Only their works remain, mute, immense, and waiting for us to remember. While it's possible to shape stone using harder stone, the scale and precision of Sacsayhuaman's walls remain beyond anything even modern builders have achieved. Then there are the strange nubs left protruding from some of the blocks, features that look like handles or remnants of a casting process. Were they practical, used to maneuver the stones into place, or were they simply byproducts of a lost technique? No one knows for sure. Some researchers suggest they may have served as lifting points, while others believe they were left intentionally, perhaps as part of a ritual or symbolic design. The mystery deepens when considering the origins of the builders themselves. The Inca, who ruled when the Spanish first arrived, claimed they did not construct Sacsayhuaman entirely, but inherited it from earlier peoples. They credited a civilization known as the Quilca, whose existence predates the Inca Empire by centuries. If true, that means the deepest foundations of the fortress. could be far older than we realize, remnants of a culture whose knowledge vanished long before recorded history. Among the more speculative ideas is the notion that these ancient builders understood principles of energy and resonance now lost to us. Some propose that they may have used sound or vibration, forms of piezoelectric manipulation, to move or shape stone. The theory rests on the idea that certain minerals within the rocks could react to frequency, temporarily loosening their atomic structure and allowing them to be molded or levitated. While unproven, it offers a fascinating glimpse into how ancient myths of singing stones or tones that lift mountains might have originated. If such knowledge existed, how could it disappear so completely? Perhaps it was jealously guarded, passed only through priestly lineages until it perished with conquest and collapse. Or perhaps it became ritualized, its original purpose forgotten, surviving only as songs, ceremonies, and legends of gods who commanded the earth itself. Standing before Sacsayhuaman today, one feels the weight of that forgotten mastery. The walls stretch across the hillside in massive zigzags, interlocking blocks with no mortar, perfectly resistant to earthquakes that destroy modern buildings. Each stone fits its neighbors with an intimacy that feels less engineered than grown, as if the mountain itself had chosen its form. No matter the explanation, whether pure human ingenuity, lost science, or an alchemical manipulation of the natural world, the fortress endures as a silent question. Its stones whisper of hands long vanished and minds that saw matter differently than we do. Perhaps, in some subtle way, they still remember what we have forgotten, waiting for someone to listen closely enough to hear their story again. In the summer of 2011, a Swedish exploration group called Ocean X encountered a mystery of their own beneath the waters of the northern Baltic Sea. While scanning the seabed between Sweden and Finland, their sonar picked up something extraordinary, a vast, circular formation nearly 200 feet wide, resting 300 feet below the surface. Unlike any shipwreck or geological outcrop, the object had crisp edges and geometric symmetry that seemed artificial. It looked, as the tabloids eagerly noted, like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. But beyond the headlines lay an enigma that defied simple geology. When the team returned with divers and submersibles, they found more strange features, stair-like structures, angular grooves, and a central hole, as though the object had been designed. Even more puzzling, divers reported that their equipment malfunctioned whenever they neared the site. Electronic systems failed, compasses spun erratically, and communication signals were disrupted. Samples of the material retrieved from the formation were equally inconsistent. Some appeared volcanic, though the Baltic region is not volcanically active, while others contained rare mineral combinations unfamiliar to local geology. The formation rested atop what looked like a long, flattened path, leading directly to it, as if something had skidded or landed there. Skeptics proposed a natural explanation. Glacial activity during the Ice Age, they argued, might have carved such formations as massive glaciers dragged stones across the seabed. But even seasoned geologists admitted that the near-perfect symmetry and layered patterns were difficult to explain. Later scans revealed that this might not be a lone anomaly. Similar structures appeared nearby, partially buried under sediment, suggesting a network or complex rather than a single feature. Theories bloomed, from a prehistoric settlement submerged after the Ice Age to the ruins of a lost civilization remembered in Nordic legend as the city of Vaneta, said to have sunk beneath the waves as divine punishment for its pride. Then there was the electromagnetic interference. Some speculated it might indicate an ancient power source or energy system, remnants of a technology long forgotten. Others pointed out that basalt and certain mineral compositions can naturally distort magnetic fields, though none explained the localized intensity reported by the divers, adding to the strangeness. Parts of the formation appeared blackened or scorched, as though exposed to extreme heat, an impossibility in that cold, geologically stable sea. Was it a volcanic anomaly, an impact site, or something engineered? Samples sent to laboratories produced conflicting results, some consistent with ordinary rock, others hinting at composite structures or synthetic elements. Despite growing intrigue, official funding for further investigation never came. The Swedish government showed little interest, and Ocean X, once vocal about their discovery, became increasingly silent, citing financial strain and logistical challenges. Independent researchers have kept the mystery alive, comparing the Baltic structure to the Yonaguni Monument off Japan, another underwater formation of sharp angles and steps many believe to be man-made. Perhaps these are remnants of a global network of coastal civilizations erased by rising seas at the end of the last ice age. Or perhaps they are geological coincidences that only look artificial through human eyes hungry for wonder. Either way, the anomaly remains unsolved, resting in the darkness, its secrets muffled by cold water and indifference. What purpose might it have once served? A port, a fortress, a temple, or a machine? Until someone dares to dig deeper, literally and figuratively, we can only guess. The Baltic still whispers its secrets through static and sonar, a reminder that our oceans hold memories of worlds we've barely begun to rediscover. And far from the sea, high among the misted hills of Nepal, another enigma quietly calls. Hidden within ancient lore and uncertain provenance lies a small stone disk known as the Lovelock plate, a smooth circular artifact carved with spiraling grooves that tighten toward its center, dotted with symbols and a single, haunting figure. The humanoid depicted on its surface is slender, long-headed, and large-eyed, eerily similar to the beings described in modern UFO accounts. Hovering nearby within the spiral pattern is what appears to be a disc-shaped object. Some see it as a flying craft, others a sun symbol or ritual motif. The plate first appeared in accounts from the 1940s, supposedly discovered by a British explorer named Dr. Carl Robin Evans during his travels through Tibet and Nepal. In his book, Sun Gods in Exile, he described encountering a mysterious tribe called the Dropa, small, pale-skinned people who he claimed were the descendants of extraterrestrials who had crashed on Earth thousands of years ago. Among their sacred relics, he said, was the Lovelock plate, but doubts soon arose. No records of Dr. Robin Evans exist outside the book, and some suspect the story was fabricated by a British writer, David Agamon, as a hoax. If so, then the Lovelock plate might be nothing more than a clever fiction. Yet photographs of the disc do exist, grainy, monochrome images showing its spirals and strange carvings. Whether they depict a real artifact or an artistic fabrication remains uncertain. The symbols on the plate resemble those on the Dropa stones, another set of mysterious discs said to have been found in China's Bayanha Mountains, each inscribed with spirals and undeciphered writing, each surrounded by legends of beings who came from the stars. The parallels between these two artifacts have fueled speculation that they share a common origin or cultural memory, a prehistoric awareness of celestial visitors. Skeptics counter that spirals are a universal motif found in ancient art worldwide, representing life, time, and cosmic cycles. The humanoid could be a shamanic figure, the disc a stylized drum or sun. Yet in the thin air of the Himalayas, where myths breathe as easily as men, it's hard to dismiss entirely the possibility of a deeper truth. Perhaps the plate was crafted not to record a literal encounter, but to symbolize one, to preserve a vision of connection between earth and sky, gods and mortals. Or perhaps it is exactly what it appears to be, a message left by travelers from the stars, carved in stone so that even after millennia of silence, the story might still be read. For now, the Lovelock plate remains what so many of these mysteries are, a whisper from the edge of history, caught between myth and memory. Whether artifact or allegory, it reminds us that the past is not a closed book, but a palimpsest, its older stories still faintly visible beneath the surface, waiting for those who dare to look.